Hey everyone, Brian here from Vintage Classic Specialist. Happy Tuesday to everyone. Welcome to another episode of Day in the Life of Vintage Classic Specialist. So let's see here. Just briefly, Rafa worked a little bit on the mouse gray bus and then turned his attention to the yellow 74 Beetle. I'll talk more about those things later. And I worked on the 66 Beetle and the 64 Beetle. And Mr. Jacob continued disassembling the 70 Ghia. So let's get into this stuff in some more detail here. Here, we'll start with this one. So the owner of this beautiful, real honest to goodness 23 window 63 bus here, he supplied us a 6-volt Optima battery. And there is a company called Woody's, I think, that specializes in Porsche 356s that makes a fake box that you can put one of these Optima batteries in that disguises it essentially to look like a proper 6-volt battery. Unfortunately, I spoke to Woody's and they're like 90 days out on having those. So this bus is pretty much done other than driving it and any debugging that we need to do. So we just went ahead and strapped the battery down. Rafa modified a battery strap to hold down the Optima battery. So someday in the future, if the owner wants and those battery boxes become available, then he can put the Optima in one of those and just get a new strap, and he'll be on his way. But yeah, for now, the battery needs to be strapped down. We can't have it flopping around back here because hopefully this week this puppy is going to go for its maiden voyage. So gotta have the battery secure. Can't leave it just flopping around like I said. So anyway, that happened today. That was the first thing Rafa did. So after that, of course, he turned his attention to the Ravana Green 64 Love Bug and continued working on the back of the car. So started off with the brakes and put on new brake hard lines. You can see here, new brake hoses. You can see there, new e-brake cables, which you can see here, installed with their little clips that hold them to the trailing arm. So yeah, all that stuff went on. And then look at that. The transmission went in, so that's kind of a big deal, kind of a milestone, I guess. Transmission's a pretty major part of the car, I think it's fair to say. So yeah, that went in with all new mounts and so on. And Rafa took the starter, which was super nice, by the way. It's a Bosch starter. You can't really see it from here, but took that and basically just cleaned it up and looked super nice. Here, maybe we can see it from the side. Let's see. Yeah, there it is. So really nice starter. So it cleaned up really nice and installed that. So yeah, there is still one part of the transmission mount that needs to go on. There's like a brace that goes from this mount to the other one, which we had Renee paint that today. So we still need to put that on. But other than that, yeah, the transmission is in here, mounted up front and back, etc. It's not hooked up to the shift rod yet because we had to get the shift coupler itself. And then I think we're also going to replace the shift bushing up here. But other than not being hooked up to the shift linkage, the transmission is in. So again, kind of a big deal, I guess. So that is pretty much the sum of what Rafa worked on today on this baby, is getting the back of it here squared away, brakes and so on. So if you saw the thumbnail for today's video, you know that is bent. So I suspected it yesterday. If you saw yesterday's video, I talked about it and I talked about some measurements that I took, and I was like 95, maybe more percent sure, based on what I was seeing, that the beam was bent on the driver's side. Based on how and again, you can look at yesterday's video if you didn't see it. I would encourage you to go and take a look at yesterday's video if you're interested. The way the torsion leaves were sitting in here is they were pressed against kind of the front lower edge of both tubes here. And normally they can be off center a little bit as they come out, but usually they're pretty close to centered. And so that was kind of the first clue that I had. Well, let me back up a little. The reason I started kind of checking things out with this beam was that the front arm on the driver's side had a lot of slop in it, making me think that the inside bushing was probably wore or something. And so I kind of started checking around, and then at that point, that's when I noticed that the beam appeared to be bent based on measurements that I took, based on how the torsion leaves were in there, and so on. So today I started the day off by pulling out the gas tank, which allowed me to see the beam from the top. And I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this in the video. I think it actually, yeah, I think you can see that. You can see how right about there, the beam just kind of goes that way. Yeah, you can see that. And you can see the lower tube, it's doing it even more. And in fact, right there on the lower tube, you can almost see like a kink where the bend starts right there. So yeah, this beam is definitely bent. So I'm really glad that I found this, because this is not good. And the other thing, I was talking to Brian Roth today about this car, because he's the one who had largely put it together before. Although Brian did not put this this front beam together, it was I think when he got the car, or the pieces of the car, I think the chassis had already been assembled, and then Brian basically like put the body on it, wired it and stuff. So this has nothing to do with Brian Roth. But anyway, I was talking to him about it today, and when I told him how this was bent, and I think I even sent him some pictures because I thought he'd find it interesting. Anyway, he said, which I hadn't really thought about, was that this beam being bent is probably the reason that this car sat so high in front. If you guys remember, this car sits really, really high in front, and they typically sit a bit higher in front, but this was like Baja Bug height in front. And what Brian said, which I think I agree with, was because of the way this one is bent and the way the way that the torsion leaves were kind of pressed, like way against a side of it and kind of binding, is that the suspension on this side, on the driver's side, was probably very, very stiff, like not actuating freely. And that's probably what was holding the front end of this car up. So between that and the wore out bushing and the fact that you'd really never be able to get a really good alignment on this car because of this being bent, we're really glad that we kind of uncovered this and we're replacing this. So we're putting in an adjustable stock width beam coming from our buddy Jason at Air Cooled Vintage Works, which he is going to kindly deliver on Thursday. And I did pull out the torsion leaves, and they do appear to be very straight, so I will be reusing those, which is good. That'll save the owner like a couple $100 actually. Each set of torsion leaves is about $100. So yeah, saving him some money there. The beam itself, I think retail is $570, maybe $570, something like that. But anyway, no choice really, because this stock one is damaged beyond hope. So anyway, excuse me guys, that was how I started my day. So I was kind of relieved in a way when I saw this was bent, because that meant I wasn't going crazy and all the measurements and stuff I took were showing me what I thought they were showing me, and it was true. Again, obviously I would rather have all this have not been the case, but anyway, it explains a lot. So after that, I turned my attention briefly here to the beautiful Sea Blue 64 and went ahead and installed the spring plates on both sides of the car. And of course we had the spring plates and the covers powder coated in semi-gloss black, so they look amazing. And then I decided to go ahead and reuse his original hardware. So restored those bolts and they came out really nice. The spring plate cover bolts. So yeah, that was the only other major thing I did today was go ahead and install these spring plates. So they're set to stock height. I measured them before I removed them and set them back exactly how they were. So this car is going to be stock height. So that, oh, I know what else I did today. Geez, guys, I almost forgot something major-ish that I did on this car was I went ahead and pull my light out here. Went ahead and reassembled and installed the pedal cluster. So came out really nice. Very happy with how that came out. I can get my phone here. It's a little hard to see the sort of body of the pedal cluster with the throttle pedal in the way. But anyway, yeah, came out good. So I went ahead and reinstalled that and, you know, greased it up and everything. So I didn't bother installing the push rod yet for the brake because this master cylinder has to come out, and we'll be putting in a dual circuit one to go with the front disc brakes that we'll be putting on this car. But yeah, that's the other thing I did today is install his pedal cluster. So as far as Jacob is concerned, he went ahead and continued dismantling this 70 orange Ghia here, and went ahead and pulled off the lower dash pad. He pulled off the upper one yesterday and got the speedometer out and kind of continued to remove some stuff up under the front here. There wasn't really a whole lot left, but the controls for the heaters and some of the ventilation tubing was still left there. He removed that. He removed the gas filler tube there. We went ahead and left the gas filler door on because it's gonna need some attention from Renee. You can see it's not really sitting great on there. It may just be a matter of adjusting the hinge, but again, we leave the hood on, the deck lid on, etc., so he can go and get all those gaps and stuff dialed in and do any like body work accordingly for that stuff, and then go ahead and pull them off, and then he can you know, continue with body work and stuff like that. But yeah, the gaps on this is probably the worst gaps on the car, just on the gas filler door. There's like a huge gap on this side, and then it's sitting high over here relative to the body, and the gap is really tight over here. So yeah, Renee can work his magic on that and get it all dialed in. But yeah, so we left it on there and left the mechanism there for it. So, but yeah, the tube is gone now, so that's all out of the way. And let's see what else. The big one is the windows are all out now. So the windshield, the rear window, the pop outs, the door windows and regulators, all that stuff came out. Most of the trim came out except for this piece and this one. Yeah, doors are all basically disassembled, except again, the latches are still in place. That way, when Renee gets to this car, he can, you know, fiddle with the gaps and stuff like that and get them all dialed in before we pull the mechanisms out. The only thing on this car that I think is, so far at least, that I've seen that's going to need some serious wizardry from Renee is right here. So there is no gap here at all, and in fact the deck lid is hitting the body right there. You can see it won't even close all the way. See, it should look like this, where the deck lid has a small gap and they sit more or less flush right here. This is actually off a little bit, but you see what I'm saying as far as the gap is concerned. So I'm wondering if maybe this car at some point got hit from this side and this fender got pushed this way a little bit, because there's not really any way for the deck lid to sort of grow in that direction, so to speak. And the gap on this side looks like, if the gap on this side was huge, I would say that maybe the deck lid is sitting that way. But this gap over here actually looks really good and appropriate, which leads me to believe that the fender from, you know, the gap actually up here starts out okay, and it's not terrible down here, a little bit too tight. So it's basically from like here to about here that there's, you know, little to no gap. So Renee is definitely going to have to work his magic and get the porta power and probably push this fender out a little ways to fix this gap. That's pretty much the only thing I've seen so far on this car that's going to need a little bit of magic done on it. But Renee is definitely up to the task. And this car is going to seem super easy compared to the 68 Rust Bucket, the crusty Karmann Ghia as I've named it. This car seems rust-free and pretty much damage-free. Look at that. How often do you see a Ghia nose that nice? This thing has never been smacked in front. It doesn't look like, it doesn't look like this car's ever been hit in front. So other than possibly that rear quarter having been hit, actually I take that back. Probably owing to the same whatever damage that is. You can see right here the apron is shaped kind of funny. So yeah, I think the apron and this this fender here are probably going to be the major things on this car that need some love. But and then there is, I think I pointed this out, there's a dent somewhere on this car, not a big one, and I can't even find it most of the time. Oh yeah, it's really hard to see, but there's a little dent right here. Not too bad a one even, but yeah, those seem to be so far the main things. Although when we strip the body back to metal, you know, there could be some Bondo on this car. We don't really know, and we won't until we strip it down. But anyway, for now, those seem to be the things that are gonna need some special attention. So guys, I believe that, oops, that's not quite it. The back seat at least went in the rest of the way in this car today. Front seats probably tomorrow. But yeah, I went ahead and had Santiago, our upholstery wizard, go ahead and install the back seat today. I don't seem to have kick panels for this car. I think Wolfsburg West only sells them in black, so I'll get a couple black ones, and then Santiago can recover them in matching red, and they'll look amazing. So got to do that still. But yeah, back seats in. Looks incredible. Can't wait to see the front seats in here too. Okay, guys. So for real now, that is it for today. So thank you all very much for watching, and we will see you again tomorrow. Bye.